Welcome to an overview of the Enterprise Edition of Right-Click Tools. Today we're going to go through each enterprise function, talk about what they do, what they're for, how they're used, what benefits they can bring to your organization. My name is Christian McCall. I'm the Senior Technical Account Manager here at Recast. There are several chapters in this video which let you skip around to the features that you're most interested in. You can access those chapters in the lower right-hand corner on the chapter menu of the video screen. So when we're looking at enterprise features, there are two kind of main buckets that we create actions for. The first one are actions that add functionality to the console, especially in areas where we can close an existing gap. Some of those features include automation functions, compliance reporting, security features, record cleanup, kiosk management, stuff like that. We also make features to improve existing processes in the console, whether that's simplifying steps, whether that's bringing things to one location. Whatever we can do to make it simpler, make you more accurate at existing processes, we'll do that as well. And you'll see tools for things like operating system deployment, task sequences, software deployment, application installs, the unified write filter, and especially data querying. Our customers tell us that brings three main benefits, right? Increased productivity, better data insights, and obviously more automation. Right-click tools are used by over 200,000 organizations worldwide, both the community and enterprise versions. This is a slide detailing a few of our more notable brand customers who are using the tools. But yeah, pretty much whatever industry you're in, there are probably peers who are using right-click tools. All right, let's jump straight into the console. I'd like to begin with the security and compliance dashboards. These are a set of smart reports really designed to help you address some common fall down points that are fairly common to almost every environment. This first one, the Active Directory Cleanup Tool, as the name kind of suggests, this is a report to help you see where you have devices, either orphaned in Active Directory, orphaned in just config-man, which my report currently doesn't have any, or properly in both systems. We can view this data. We can filter it by domain, OU, as well as collection. We can export any of our results to a CSV. Any portion of the chart that we click on will populate the devices in that group. And then, as with all of these reports, and with most things that Right-Click Tools does, we are able to take actions on any of the devices that we find here. Right-clicking, we can view device actions across the board. Pretty common from here to see things like delete device from AD, kind of finish that cleanup step. We can also delete devices from config-man, do group policy updates. Very common to see, evaluation or collection cycles, inventory cycles, stuff like that run from here as well as a significant number of customers use RCT Builder to create custom actions, which we will talk more about in a minute. BitLocker Compliance is another kind of hot button issue, especially right now with the encryption and data breaches that have been in the media. Obviously, it's important to be encrypted everywhere that you intended to, right? And this tool, the BitLocker Compliance tool, really lets you do that, both kind of detecting compliance issues as well as addressing or fixing issues that you find. Here on the left chart, we're able to see where keys are stored. So we can view computers with keys stored in AD and MBAM, just AD, just MBAM, or also computers that currently do not have stored keys. On the right, if you're using MBAM, you can query against whatever policies you've set for MBAM compliance. With this report, you can filter by domain and OU. You can always export to a CSV as well. Again, clicking any portion of the chart is going to populate those devices in the list at the bottom. And from here, we can do several different management actions. First and foremost, we can view BitLocker recovery keys straight from any device, not just here in this report, but across the console, wherever there are devices. We can view recovery keys in AD or in MBAM. To address any compliance issues we discover in this report, we want to use this BitLocker status tool. What this tool is going to do is give us a more detailed look into the status of BitLocker on the devices we've selected. It can be anything from, seeing what drive letters are encrypted, what's their status, what method are we using, a whole bunch of useful information in this chart. From here, we can also fix any issues that we find, right? So we can right-click to suspend, resume, decrypt, encrypt, add a variety of key protector types, or back up the numerical password key protector to Active Directory or to Azure AD. Up next is the hardware audit dashboard. This dashboard really is designed to give you a quick window into what chassis manufacturer and model types you have, as well as letting you access those groups quickly to take a variety of different actions on them. You can filter this report by collection. You can also do nested filtering, so if you don't want to look at the entire environment at once, you can filter out some of that noise by starting with a chassis, picking a manufacturer, and finally ending with a specific model. With these, as with all of the security and compliance dashboards, you can export this to a CSV. You can also run right-click tools on any of the results you find. Pretty common to see customers using custom actions they've created in RCT Builder with this RCT runner function. Also pretty common to see things like Remote Software Center. If there's a piece of software you needed to push out to a specific model, or system information is another common one from here as well. This next dashboard, the Relapse dashboard, this is a compliance report for LAPS, the Local Administrator Password Solution. On the left chart here, we're going to see computers with and without stored passwords in LAPS. And then on the right, we can see the LAPS client install state on those devices. Again, we can filter by domain and OU. We can export to a CSV if we would like. There are several tools available to us with LAPS. Depending on how you've deployed that, we can use Remote Software Center to install LAPS if that's how we've deployed things. We can also run custom actions to address compliance issues, or general LAPS tools include grabbing the LAPS password straight from AD. With this tool, you can also expire the password as well. So you get the password here. If you want to hand that out, expire it in a couple hours. Very easy to get that done. This is something that a lot of customers use for their help desk staff. As with all functions in Enterprise, you can assign tools out with role-based administration and scoping to give access to those who need it and not to those who don't. Last on the list of security and compliance dashboards is the Software Update Deployment Status tool. Around here, we usually just call it SUDS. What this is a highly targeted compliance report for software update deployments. We can filter here by collection. We can filter by software update group. We can limit our results to deployed updates if we want to. This slider allows us to assign a number of days for compliance in the report. So for example, Patch Tuesday doesn't suddenly ruin our data and make it look worse than it is. We can also filter by category of update in this report as well. From there, we get two sides of the same information. On the left, we get compliant versus non-compliant devices. Then at each device, we can drill down to see the updates that are missing, as well as take right-click actions on the device itself. On the right, we get missing updates by category, and then at each update, we can view the devices missing that update, as well as take right-click actions. Probably the most common tool to be run from here is the Remote Software Center tool. It's a fairly new function. What this is going to allow you to do several things as if you had opened Software Center on that device. First and foremost, pairs most easily with this SUDS report is the Software Updates tab. We can view software updates that are deployed, either available or required, same as we would in Software Center. And then we can kick off an install to whichever devices we select. From here, we can also uninstall or install applications. We can install a task sequence or kick one off, whatever we have deployed. We can also view configuration baselines on a device or devices we've selected as well. With this report, as with all of them, we can also export to a CSV, making it easy to surface information to management or to manipulate the data in Excel. I've talked about creating custom actions several times now in this demo so far. How we do that is with a tool called RCT Builder, which we then run actions we've created with the tool called RCT Runner. In Builder, what this is, what Builder is for, it is a workflow automation platform really aimed very specifically at the work system administrators need to do. How we use Builder, we create a workflow using these available actions here on the right. There are over 400 actions we can choose from in here, organized by category. Any of the right-click tools that are in here, they're in the console are in here. We can also choose from the functions kind of behind right-click tools, things like WMI or registry, anything we thought you would just want, things like PowerShell. We can drag and drop and then direct the flow of actions to each step. We can also add conditional responses at each step as well. So we can do if-then statements, create logic trees, whatever we need to do to kind of complete the work based on the outputs of each step. We can also pass parameters from step to step as well. So if, for example, we had directed this flow to search for a piece of software, and then if that software did not exist, maybe we have a PowerShell script running to install it, we could pass that information from this step inside our PowerShell script here and make that function automatically. Whatever Builder actions we create, we can also save and share across the console and across users of the console. And we can do that with role-based administration and scoping as well. When we're ready to run a right-click action, we use RCT Runner, a custom right-click action we made. And RCT Runner has a couple of cool features we can do here. We get a list of actions based on the type of action we created, which we do pretty simply by choosing where we create it from. From here, we select the action we want to run. First, we can add any input parameters that it requires, and then choose if we want to run that now, or schedule that for a future date and time. We can also do a repeat interval as well. Kiosk Manager is a tool designed to help you create and manage kiosk-style devices or single-purpose computers. How we use Kiosk Manager, we create a profile of settings, and then we apply those settings to single devices, multi-selected devices, or on entire device collections. Those machines will then reboot using whatever profile and settings we've configured, and then go into those settings as you create your kiosk that way. How we manage and set up our profiles is with this Manage Profiles tool. We select a profile we want to manage. We select the different configurations that we would like to add to this kiosk, depending on what our use case is. And then anything we select is configured on the next screens, right? So first here is the automatic logon or automatic login tool. Here we can set a domain, username, and password. Test those credentials. We can even limit the number of times those are used on a restart if we want with the limit number logon count. Replace shell is next. This replaces Windows Desktop with one or more auto-launched applications of your choosing. You can choose from some common browsers, any UWP application, or any Win32 application that you'd like. If you're doing a Win32 app, you can select the path, add whatever arguments you need. This delay feature is nice because it allows you to let the machine join the network before attempting to open the app. You can also pick a window style and close behavior. So if an end user closes the app, what do you want to happen? Similar kind of story for UWP as well as Google Chrome or any of the other browsers you can choose from. A browser option adds the ability to do things like put it in full screen or set a private mode so it doesn't save a cache. You can also set multiple tabs here by separating domains with a semicolon. If you've got a digital signage application or you want something to be full screen, you can tile the apps. You do this tile windows option. You can also remove window borders to kind of make it very clean. And then we, by default, disable sticky keys, but you can re-enable that here if you would like as well. This next tool is the Restart on Idle function. Pretty straightforward. You can either restart on idle for the auto login user or for all users. You can also delete files or folders on a restart. Pretty common to see this used for deleting all the downloads in a user profile. We include all of the default Windows folders for the auto login user, but any file or folder that you would like to delete after a reboot, you can. You can also enable a whitelist for URLs if you want to lock down the machine to a specific web page. There is some configuration required depending on which browser you want to use. I believe you have a blog post about that. But yeah, we built in things for Pearson standardized testing is a pretty common use case here, or any URL you would like to add, you can do that here as well. Disabling keyboard keys is another way to lock down the machine to a specific purpose. If you want to deny access to things like the start menu by hitting a Windows key, or Control-Alt-Delete, Control-Shift-Escape to deny access to Task Manager, and really make sure the machine is used for the purpose you intended. This is an easy way to do that. And finally, you can apply a default volume for all users. Worth noting here that if you add a positive volume, it will unmute the machine so that your volume that you intended is kept. Otherwise, you can drag it all the way down to apply mute, and then obviously test as well. Once you have created your Kiosk Manager profile and got it set the way you want it to, applying that is simple. Like I mentioned earlier, you can apply these to single devices, multi-selected devices, or entire device collections. Simply hit Apply Profile on the device or devices that you've set. Pick the profile you want to apply. You can deploy it immediately or schedule the deployment for a future date and time. There are a couple other Kiosk Manager functions that we've got. If you want to see what's already applied, you can use this Applied Profile Status tool. Removing profiles works just in reverse of applying profiles, just another reboot and they go back to a normal machine. You can also check scheduled tasks and scheduled task results here. It's a really common way to apply profiles, so it's nice and easy to be able to see everything here. The Unified Write Filter tools are another feature that we add functionality to the console with. What we do with Unified Write Filter is pretty similar to how we manage Kiosk Manager profiles. We will manage a UWF profile to kind of set things up, and then apply that profile to create that known good state on a machine that will then be reverted back to every time you reboot, wiping all changes in the interim. So we create a profile of settings for UWF, and then we add whatever exceptions or exclusions that we need to make sure that we can manage and maintain this machine the way we maintain our other machines. We've built packs of exclusions for things like the ConfigMan client, or Windows Defender, Windows Update. A couple other antivirus vendors are in there as well. But any file or registry that you want to add and therefore exclude from being wiped on a restart by the filter, you can add them in advance. You can also do things with caching, so choose between restarts where are things cached, where are they temporarily saved. You can do that to memory or to disk, obviously pluses and minuses with either there. Once you have set up your UWF profile, you apply those the same way you would a Kiosk Manager profile, simply by selecting the profile you want to apply and then scheduling the time that you'd like to apply it. All right, so we pick a profile, we can choose to deploy that now or schedule the deployment for a future date and time. With the Unified Write Filter, there is some setup that is required. It can be a little bit tricky if you don't know what's going on, so we've created a tool to help you manage that. We can also install the feature or the filter itself with a right-click tool here, but this Unified Write Filter status tool is going to show us what the status is of the Unified Write Filter and give us the tools we need to enable that feature. So what we need to do to enable the Unified Write Filter on this device, for example, we would right-click to enable the feature, and we would right-click to restart the machine. Then once the machine is rebooted, we can enable the filter itself and reboot one more time, and then we're ready to go and we can apply a Unified Write Filter profile. This tool will also show you where you're at currently versus where you will be after a reboot. It's just a nice way to kind of manage the setup, care and feeding for the Unified Write Filter feature. One of the other areas that we really help with not so much adding things to the console, but improving existing processes, has to do with task sequences. And there's two areas that we focus on to help with task sequences. The first one is with troubleshooting. Obviously, SMSTS logs are and will remain the #1 way to find out what happened when a task sequence deployment fails. They are all of the information, right? But they can be a little bit difficult to find or get to the right one, and they can also be a little bit time consuming to find the information you need to fix the problem. So what we've done to address that is with a status message viewer. What this is doing, really the only thing we're changing here in the console is dynamically querying for status messages based on what you click on. Right? So I've clicked on a task sequence deployment, I get my built-in status message viewer, but limited in the query for just the thing I clicked on. Right? I can specify a date and time or do a range of time up to a year ago. I happen to know it's been a while since I've run this one. Once we get our status messages start to return, it makes troubleshooting a lot easier, right? Because we can filter, sort, search, save, whatever we need to do with this built-in console status message viewer. Pretty common to see sorting by errors, and now I have 3 things to look at rather than maybe 3 pages of log files to read. One of the other areas we help with task sequences has to do with task sequence content. So with the content information tool, we right-click on a task sequence and access content information. What this does is gives us a way to view and distribute task sequence content quickly and easily. Right? Again, this is not something we're changing the process. This is something we're improving the process. We're not adding, we're improving. Here at the bottom, you will see all of the content tied to the task sequence you clicked on. If you right-click on a piece of content, you can check status, read status messages, or jump to the source path. This chart also has a lot of useful information, things like compliance data, last time when it was created versus last time it was modified, package ID, version, all of that's in there just at a glance. When we're ready to distribute, we can right-click on a distribution point group and distribute all of this content in one click. This will filter down to the distribution points in that group, and we can right-click on a DP to distribute everything in one go. Or once we've selected a distribution point, we can individually add, redistribute, remove, or validate content on that DP as well. One other area that we have some content tools that are interesting is on distribution points themselves. So in Enterprise, we can, first of all, redistribute all failed content transfers with a click. We can also run this content status tool. What this will do is pull a similar set of functions for that we saw with the content tied to a task sequence in the content information tool. This will pull that information and give us those tools on everything on a DP. Right? So this is all of the content on this distribution point. At each piece, I can check status, read status messages, jump to the source folder, redistribute, remove, validate, and then obviously refresh. You also get some general distribution point information. It's a nice at a glance to see what's going on. You can see if you have any errors, what's successful, what's not, and everything else. Querying is another area of the console that we improve the process. Obviously, queries are a fantastic way to surface information about your environment, right? And with that information, you can make smarter decisions more quickly. Querying can be a little bit cumbersome. Depending on how large of a query you ask for, it can sometimes crash the console, it can sometimes take a really long time, and you can't really act on those results without leaving the query screen and then having to come back. So a few things we've done to improve those issues with this quick query tool. With quick query, we can first and foremost get our results almost instantaneously, right? We've improved the performance of the query itself, and this is true for very large or very complex queries. From there, we have surfaced information. Probably we want to eliminate noise. Anything that we're not looking at, we want to eliminate that so we can look at a shorter report. So from here, we can limit our results to a collection, either users or device collections, and then pick the collections that we care about and run the query again. If we want to change the parameters of the query itself, we can come in here and edit the query text state. So that, and then, obviously don't type nonsense, but then we can run that again, save, or save as a brand new query. With our results, it's pretty common to want to export results to Excel to manipulate the data there. We can do that with copy-paste, just Control-C, Control-V. And a nice thing, this will automatically copy the headers over as well for each column. Finally, we are not usually servicing information just for fun. Usually there is a task in mind, there's something that needs to happen. So depending on the kinds of results we get in our query, in this case device objects, we will have right-click tools that correspond with those objects, right? So in this case devices, if we'd search for user objects, we'd get user tools and etc., depending on what kind of right-click tools are available. One other area that I want to cover and make sure to talk about in this enterprise demo is the Recast management server. This is something that comes with every enterprise license. It's not an additional cost or anything like that. What we do with the Recast server, Recast management server, is route actions through the server so that we can enable a lot of additional features, right? Things like audit logging, we can check some preview stuff for things that are coming up. Role-based permissions is in the Recast server. We can do things like add users, even importing them from AD groups. We can do scoping, we can set what roles each user has and define what those roles can do with all the right-click tools, including anything you create in RCT Builder. You can also add what's called a proxy. Proxies enable right-click tools on workgroup machines or in untrusted domain for us. It lets us route traffic that way so that you can manage those devices without needing to set up an additional instance of right-click tools. Routes, obviously, this is how we define where those routes to those proxies go. And with the Recast management server, you can also manage global settings for any connected console extension. For more information or to get pricing on the enterprise right-click tools, visit us at www.recastsoftware.com. Thanks for watching.